Good afternoon, class. And today we're going to be learning solving linear systems by substitution 5.2, parenthesis 2.
Thank you. Thanks, Will. Alright, so, guys, this is the last piece of, the last part, the second half of 5.2. Alright, because there's solving with substitution, you can do it, there's two different situations. Okay? So, yesterday, or I should say, this was 2 days ago, this was on Tuesday, we talked about situation 1 for solving systems. Alright? And one of the equations, or maybe both, was set up a certain way. Does anybody remember how it was set up? Something had already happened. Josiah?
Y was already by itself.
Y? What do we call them? But
I was isolated.
Y was isolated. So Y could have been isolated. What else? Someone else raise their hand and tell me. Y could have been isolated? Who said it? X. Is that you, friend? Yeah. X could have also been isolated. What else? So Y could have been isolated in one of the equations. X could have been isolated in one of the equations.
Is it already like Y?
Yeah, exactly. That's what we mean. That's what we mean by isolated. X equals something. So we had them like that. Remember, we also had them where, like the one we did in the warm up today.
Oh, Y equals 2.
They were both. Y was isolated in both equations. So we could have Y isolated in one equation, X isolated in one equation. We could have Y isolated in both, or X isolated in both. Right? That's what we talked about 2 days ago on Tuesday. Alright? That was the situation that we talked about. Alright? So, again, there was no rearranging. Think about back to the warm-up, to the first 2 questions we did. We had to solve for X and solve for Y. You had to move stuff, right? When we did the stuff on Tuesday, you didn't have to do that. In one or both of the equations, it was already done for you. Alright? So that's the stuff that we did on Tuesday, as it's a little bit of a refresher. Alright? So now, think about it. On Tuesday, we didn't have to rearrange at all. What about today?
I didn't like we're going to be rearranged.
We're going to be rearranging. Alright? But, like one of the ones we did in the warm-up where you had to rearrange, when you rearrange, you're only going to have to do one step. Alright? To rearrange it, you only have to do one step. So basically what I'm saying is, you won't have to divide to rearrange. You just have to move something, and then you'll be all set. Alright? And it'll make a little bit more sense when I go over it. So like you guys said, we're going to have to rearrange. Alright? So where it says, situation number 2, you're going to write it on your notes. Have to rearrange. Alright? Have to isolate, get by itself, X or Y on the left-hand side of the equal sign. So Tuesday we didn't have to rearrange. Today we're going to have to. But again, when we rearrange, alright, we're only going to have to do one step to get it rearranged. Okay? And remember, isolate means get it by itself. Right? Alright, again, Y is by itself here, but it's not isolated. Isolated means it's on one, usually on the left-hand side of the equal sign with nothing else around it. No other terms. So just keep in mind, this right here is non-isolated. Okay? Today, like I said, we're going to have to rearrange. But again, when we rearrange, it's only going to be one step. Alright? So, we're just going to go through the different situations that you're going to have, or just some reminders to get the equation ready to go. Okay?
I was so scared.
So, here, on your notes, there's a bullet, and then there's a blank. So, you see what's bold here? X on the same side with single Y. You want to write that in. And when we do the example, it'll make more sense. Alright? So X on the same side with a single Y. And you'll see from the example, when we do the next example, or the example that goes with this, to how it's going to make sense. Alright? So x will be on the same side with a single y. There'll be nothing attached to y. Kind of like the example I gave you up top there. So you have a little space on your notes where it says EX, right? Again, this is not like example 1, example 2. Don't worry about that. It's just an example to show you what this is going to look like, to rearrange it. So underneath that, you're going to need a little bit of space. Right next to EX, you're going to write negative 5x plus y equals 26. It's like we said, we have the x on the same side with a single y. Right? Y, there's nothing else attached to y. It's just a single y, there's nothing else. Alright? So when I have that, like the directions say, do the opposite operation of x and move it after the equal sign. So what is, sometime raising their hand, what's the number with x? X? Negative 5. Now it says do the opposite operation. So what should I do?
Plus 5.
Plus 5. And make sure the variable's attached to it. Plus 5x. Someone tell me by raising their hand. Where else am I going to add 5x? Go. To the other side. Plus 5x. On my left-hand side, this cancels out. On my left-hand side page, what's left?
Y.
Just y. That's what I want. I want to get a variable isolated. Equals. Sophia, what am I going to write on the other side?
5x plus 26.
5x plus 26. Again, here, I'm just showing you guys an example of what it looks like when you have to rearrange. Alright? This would be a good one to get y by itself because there's nothing else attached to y. Alright, it's by itself, so for all the ones we do for these, there'll be you'll have a single y or a single x in one of the equations. Sometimes in both. Alright? But we'll never have anything attached to it. We're never going to, in this step right here, we're never going to make you divide. Alright? You only have to do this. Alright? So that would be all set. And then we'd be ready to do the next part, which is going to be very similar to what we've done the past couple days. Alright? So we have x on the same side with a single y. Next situation, again, this is coming before we do the substitution. We got to get it prepped before we can substitute. Here, for your next blank, alright, you're going to have y on the same side with a single x. So you'll have a number with y plus or minus just an x. Alright? And again, so on your blank there, you want to write y on the same side with single x. Alright, so basically just the opposite of what we talked about. Now there'll be a number attached to y, there'll be no number attached to x. So here's your example. Now we got x minus 4y equals negative 2. Alright? So Mallory, what do the directions say to do when I have this type of thing? Well,
you want to get y by itself.
Well, in this case, I don't want to get y by itself.
Or you want to get x.
I want x, but why do I want to get x by itself? Why would that be a better choice than y?
Because it's less than.
Because there's nothing attached to it, right? We always want to try to get by itself whatever has a single variable, x or y. All right, we always want to look for that. So what would I do to make that happen, Mallory?
You would add 4y and then add it to negative 2.
Add 4y and add it on the other side with the 2. Cancel out. Z on my left-hand side. What's left? Just an x, right? And then, Ginny, after my equal sign, what am I going to write?
Negative.
Go ahead.
Negative 6y.
No, I can't. Ginny said negative 6y.
Look what we did up top of the first one. What do we?
Again, what would that negative 2 need to be able to do that? Josiah? Need a y, right? It doesn't have a y. So Ginny, tell me what to write now.
Oops.
And start with the, 4y, good. 4y minus 2. So again, those are just some reminders of what you have to do before you can start the substitute. Because on Tuesday, like we talked about at the beginning, we already had a variable isolated by itself on the left-hand side of the equal sign. Today we won't. We just got to do a little bit more work to get to that point. All right? So we did that. Perfect. Now, let's take a look at the steps to do this. All right? So, steps to solve linear equations with substitution. All right? Again, situation 2. Remember, situation 2 is when x or y is not isolated. You have to do it. Okay? So let's take a look at step 1. I know it's a lot to write. I'll give you time. I'll give you time. Again, the other ones, we'll look at the rest of them after this. They're not as long. All right? So choose the equation to rearrange that already has a single variable, like we just talked about. You want to pick the one that has a single x or a single y. That's the one you want to rearrange, because then you won't have to do any division. So when you get into a situation like this, we don't see an x equal or y equals something nice, all right? You want to pick the one that has a single variable, all right? That means x or y is going to have no number attached. If they both, like if you see one that has, let's say I had x minus 2y equals 6, negative x plus 3y equals 5. If I had a situation like this, I have a single no x or y isolated in either one, right? We don't have x or y by itself on the left-hand side on either of those, all right? But I see x by itself in both equations. So what if I have that situation? I want to choose the equation with the positive single variable. It would be the negative single variable, wouldn't it? Because I mean, no, it wouldn't be x. Never mind. Yeah, you want to choose the one with the positive.
That's which one you're going to move.
Yeah. So with this, I would choose the top one, because all I'd have to do is add 2y and then x will be by itself. I wouldn't want to do it with this one, because I'm going to end up with a negative x. Then I have to divide by negative 1. So if there's a single variable in both, pick the one that's positive, because then you'll do the same thing, just plus or minus whatever is attached to the other variable, and then move it to the other side. All right? We'll rearrange the equation with the reminders that we just had. All right? The reminders that we just did, right? When we have a single x with y on one side, or a single y with x on one side. Those same thing. We'll run to those reminders. All right? And then, like we did before, all right, we're going to put our parentheses around what comes after the variable you just isolated. I know it's a lot of words, it's a lot to write, but again, right below it, okay, so you see where it says example 1a? We'll do this example out step by step under each step that we write. We'll do the actual equation. All right, so let's scroll down a little bit. So right next to example 1a, you want to write, right next to example 1a, 9x minus 2y equals 12, and y plus 4 equals 16. And again, this is situation number 2. Someone raise their hand and tell me, why would this be situation number 2? Mallory?
Because there's a number attached to the variable.
Okay. What else? What do you say, John?
There's a number attached to both y's.
Okay. What else? Think back to Tuesday, right? We could just go ahead and substitute right away. Why can we do that? Joe?
Never mind.
Okay.
Because the y was isolated.
Yeah, the x or the y was already isolated for you. In this situation, there's no x or y by itself with nothing else on the left-hand side of the equation. Neither one. All right? So now it says we want to look for the one that has a single variable, either a single x or a single y. So does equation 1 have that? Or does equation 2 have that, Fred? Which one has the single variable? Like a single x or a single y with nothing else attached? Equation 2, good. Thank you, Fred. Equation 2 has that, good. So we've identified the equation that we have to rearrange. Now we go back to our reminders, right? What do I have to do? What do I have to do to get y by itself in equation number 2? Subtract 4, right? Minus 4, minus 4. I'm going to get y equals, when I do that, Savannah?
Y equals 16 minus 4.
Which is?
Which is
12. So again, this one's a little bit different, guys, because we don't have an x and a y in the second equation, but that's okay. We can still go through it. All right, it's a good way to start. So that's a really bad 12, but all right, so y equals 12. Okay, one more thing we have to do here before we can solve, before we can go to the next step. What's the last thing it said to do in this step? We did that. What were you going to say, Savannah? Put the parentheses, right? Put my parentheses around what comes after the variable you just isolated. In this case, it's 12. In most cases, there's probably going to be an x or a number with x and then another just plain old integer. But in this case, we just have 12, and that's okay. All right. Now, guess what? All the steps after this are exactly the same as what we did on Tuesday. All right. So once I get to this point, I get the variable isolated by itself on the left-hand side. Think back to Tuesday. What do I do now? Tell me, Savannah.
You're gonna put 12 in for y.
Yeah, I'm going to plug it in for the variable I just solved for. I'm going to plug it into that variable in the other equation. All right, so like I said, the rest of the steps will be the same. All right, we did that. So now we got to go back down here, and you'll see. So let's get this step written down first. But make sure again, we're going to keep work. We have some space below that. We're going to keep working through this example. All right, so we can see the steps. All right, so we'll put parentheses around the isolated variable in the other equation, the equation that we didn't rearrange, and plug in the information that already has the parentheses around it in the equation that we rearranged in step 1. And again, I know it's wordy, but again, that's the reason why we're showing you the step right underneath it, so you can see it visually, not just written down words. All right? So again, if you're not done writing that down, that's okay. I'm just going to start writing the equation. Top equation was 9x minus 2y equals 12. When we solve for y, we just got y equals 12. All right, so again, in this particular system, there's going to be a little bit less work, but that's okay. All right, so I'm going to put parentheses around the isolated variable in the other equation and plug in the information that already has the parentheses. So we know that we already put parentheses. What did we already, from step 1, what did we already put parentheses around?
Equation.
No? 12, right? I already put parentheses around 12 up here, so I'm just going to do that down here. Now, this is the new part. I'm going to put parentheses around the isolated variable in the other equation. Jack, what variable did we isolate?
Y.
We isolated y. So that's what I want to put parentheses around in the other equation. What is y attached to in the other equation?
-2.
-2. So I'll just put parentheses around that. Bingo. All right? That's all we're doing in this step. We're just putting parentheses, and that's it. Nothing else. Just like we did on Tuesday. Anything else I should do here that might help me out?
Well, why don't you just plug in 12 for y?
We're going to do that in the next step. I'm saying in this step. Anything else I can do to kind of remind myself that I have to plug it in? A little tip. Go ahead, Savannah.
Put it from.
Did it?
Oh, put
Joe?
an arrow.
Yeah, draw an arrow. Draw an arrow from what? Draw an arrow from what to what, Joe?
Y?
Yeah, from the 12 going up to the y. Just to remind myself. And if you know, like Savannah, she knows. You can just go ahead and plug it in. That's fine. We're not going to take points off if you don't do that. But if it helps you to remember to draw the arrow, do you have to do that? That's perfectly fine. Now step 3. So now, what's going to happen in step 3? Josiah?
Well, you can finally plug it in.
Yeah, we're going to solve now, right? We're going to actually plug in the number, all right? So we're going to solve the equation with, all right, the stuff that we put parentheses around plugged in. Remember, at this point, just as a reminder, at this point, we should only have one letter. It should only be an X or only be a Y. If you have 2 letters at this point, you're wrong. We can't solve an equation with 2 variables in it. It's impossible. We can't do it. All right? So we're going to solve the equation with the information that we put parentheses around plugged in the other equation. All right? So someone tell me, what's that going to look like? Josiah?
It's going to be 9x
Yeah.
minus 2 in parentheses 12
Yeah.
equals 12.
12 is not equal.
Perfect. Now, this is kind of like a step within a step. When I get to this step and I have to solve, what's the first thing? Not in this problem, but in what would work for every problem. What should we look for first? Josiah?
Distributing.
Distribute, right?
You can distribute.
Yup, and you are correct, Savannah. Like I said, you may not have that. You may not have it in every problem. You may not. I mean, there's something there we could kind of distribute. What can we distribute?
Negative 2 into 12.
The negative 2 into 12. When I do that, Josiah, what do I get?
Negative 24.
Negative 24. All right, so I did that part. All I'm going to do is bring everything else down. So all I'm going to do is just bring everything else down. All right, next step. Even though it's not happening here, what should I do, Savannah? What should I look for? I'm just going to put CLT. We don't have that here. All right, after that, what am I going to do then? Add or subtract, right? So I'm just going to put add / subtract, depending on what's there. All right, so what do I need to do in this particular example? Josiah?
Put 21st as inverse and add it to 12.
So the inverse of what number?
24.
Which is what? Negative 24, which is what?
Positive 24.
Add 24 else what?
Add it to 12.
Add it to 12, very good.
And then you would bring 9x down and then you divide it.
Well, do this first.
6.
36. And then Josiah just kind of give us a little hint for the last one. Savannah? Divide, yeah. I'm not going to put, we could divide. What else could we possibly need to do in that last step? Multiply. For the stuff we're doing, guys, we're not going to make you worry about that. We're not going to make you do that. All right, so last step, Savannah, what do I do? Divide by 9. Divide by 9. X equals 4. All right,
This
now,
is kind of better.
am I done?
No.
No. What are we going to do now?
You're gonna sub 4 in for x.
Plug in X to the other, right? Right, so plug it, so the number you just solved for, we're going to plug it into the other equation, the one that we rearranged. All right, we're going to plug the number we solved for into the other equation that we rearranged, and then for either X or Y, depending on what letter we solved for first. All right, so let's all you guys get that written down first. Then I want to scroll back up to one we rearranged.
How many problems are there in this?
8, 9.
Really?
So
Yeah.
there's gonna be like 2 each.
I think. Yeah, I think there's like. I want to say there's like 2 where we give you guys like the coordinates and you're gonna plug them in. I think
Can we do this stuff?
I think there's one you have to solve by graphing, a couple word problems, and the rest is substitution.
I hate word problems. We should just do a lot of substitution.
I hate word.
All right, so let's go back up to the equation. Sorry. Whoa. My bad.
Will.
So again, don't go back to and plug it in like the original one. Plug it into the one you rearranged, because the one you rearranged has the variable by itself. You just have to do the math on the right-hand side and you'll be done. Alright? So is everybody, can I scroll back up?
No.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
He's still solving.
Gemini says no.
He's still solving with the original.
Alright, so let's go back up. What was the equation that I rearranged? The number, equation 1 or equation 2?
You rearranged equation 2.
Equation 2, right? And when I did that, what did I end up getting?
12.
Y equals 12. So in this case, guys, for this one, I didn't have to do any more work. It was already done for me. Right? Because Y equals 12. There's nothing else there. There's nothing else we have to plug into. The answer's already there.
Oh.
90% of the time, you're not going to have that. But in this particular example, you did. So this one, it didn't matter. We just get Y equals 12. But if not, all we do is look for where X was in the equation that we rearranged, plug it in, put parentheses around it, and solve. This will make a little bit more sense when we do the next one. Alright? So, we're almost done. One more thing. We have both our answers. What do we have to make sure we do?
Put them in coordinates.
Put it in a coordinate form, right? So let's scroll down. So answers should be written as in parentheses with the coordinates. So for this particular example, what would I write?
Wait. What was X again?
4.
Oh.
Right? Am I right, guys? 4? 4, comma 12 in the parentheses. So like I said, guys, in this particular example, for that 4th step, when we have to go and like plug back in, we didn't have to do it for this one because Y was already solved. But in the next one, that won't happen. All right? Everybody good? Yes. Okay. Let's look at example. Let's look at example 1B. So X. What's the first thing? So first thing we look for is to see, okay, do I have Y equals or X equals?
No.
Is it already isolated?
So you have to rearrange.
No. So we have to rearrange. So X. I got equation 1. I got equation 2. Which one do you want to rearrange?
Number 2.
X. Which one do you think, buddy? Equation 2, right? Now, X and X only. X and X only. How am I going to rearrange that?
No.
Huh? How? Well, what do you want to, what variable is already by itself? Y, right? Y is already by itself, right? So I want to get that isolated. How are you going to do it? So I don't want to do anything with this. So I want Y only with nothing else around it. Sophia?
Subtract 2x.
Subtract 2x, right? Minus 2x. Minus 2x. Again, it goes back to our reminders, right? We have a x on the same side with a single y, right? Do the opposite of what's attached to x and move it to the other side. That's what I did. So I'm going to get y equals, on the other side, what am I going to have? Jenny, on the other side, what am I going to have?
Y minus 2x.
So y equals,
Y equals 2x.
careful. Yes.
Plus 1.
Excellent. Negative 2x plus 1. Very good. All right. One more thing I should do in this step. Someone remind me? It's a small little thing, but it's really important. Yes, like Gemini just said. Put parentheses around. Gemini, what do I put parentheses around? Negative 2x plus 1. Okay, good. At this point now, what equation should I be looking at? The top one or the bottom one?
Top one.
Equation 1, right? What do you want to do now, Joe?
Put parentheses around the y. No.
You're right.
Yeah, put parentheses around the y in the first.
Put parentheses around the y in the top one. Mr. Hager's going to even give us a bigger hint. He's going to draw an arrow up. And again, you don't have to do this. You don't have to. All right? He's just giving you one more hint of what you need to do. So now, we've done step 1. We've done step 2. Page, step 3.
1, 2 where the y is.
So tell me what the right. Tell me what the right.
9x minus 3 parentheses negative 2x plus 1 parentheses equals 2.
Excellent. Very, very good. Now,
Wait, why did we switch it around?
what do you mean? What do we switch around?
Never mind.
Are you there now?
Yeah, I read it wrong.
Alright, so here we are. Now, we're at step 3. Remember, step 3 has the steps within the step. Alright? For this, what do I want to do first? Distribute, right? What number, Josiah, am I going to distribute?
3 into 2.
Careful.
Negative 3.
Good. Don't forget that negative 3. That's going to screw everything up. So I'm going to distribute the negative 3 into the what?
2x.
Careful.
Negative 2x.
There you go. Negative 2x. And what other number?
The 1.
Positive 1. Good. What happens to that 9x?
Bring it down.
This comes down. There's nothing else I can do with it. Not yet. 9x. So here, I'm just going to write. You don't have to do this, guys. I'm just showing you. You don't have to write this. I'm just showing you the step that you did. Distribute. So when I distribute, what am I going to get? X.
Positive 6 or plus 6.
Positive 6.
Minus 2. Oh, X.
Don't forget about the X, yeah? And then negative 3 and positive 1. Negative 3. What about the equals 12?
Bring it
Let's bring it down. Excellent. All right, so I did the distribute part. What do I do now? Joe, CLT, right?
Yeah.
Hey, Fred. What are my like terms? Sure you do. Yeah, like Savannah just said to you. What has the same thing attached?
It's the first level.
Yeah. 9x and 6x. See? So I told you could do that. So I got a positive 9x and a positive 6x. When I do that, what do I get? 15x. Positive, right? Don't forget the sign to the left goes with it. You gotta make sure you take that with you. 15x. What about the negative 3?
You
Bring it
add
down. Bring everything else down, right?
What?
Don't jump ahead, Josiah. Don't jump ahead. All right. Now what?
Well, now you add it to the 12, but I feel like
Add what to the 12?
the negative 3.
Good.
What you-
If you, it's up to you. If you can combine, do this all in one step, you know you gotta combine and add the 3, that's completely fine.
Okay.
I do it step by step. I'm still learning math, so I don't wanna make a mistake. So here, I'm gonna add, Josiah, add what number?
Negative 3 as its inverse.
Which is?
Positive 3.
Excellent. Add 3, add 3. Here's my equal sign over here, Josiah. What do I get?
13. 16. 15.
15. On this side, what's over here? What's on this side? What's on this side?
15x, and then you get 1.
And then I divide, yeah? Divide by what number, guys?
15.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's X equals 1.
X equals 1, thank you, Savannah. X equals 1. Halfway done. Oh, sorry. I can circle. I'll put parentheses around it. Put parentheses. All right? You don't have.
I don't think we normally do.
And again, some people it helps to do that. Other people, if you just know, okay, I know what to do next, that's fine. What do I do now?
You take original problem.
Oh, you plugged in that.
Plug in the numbers.
Which one?
I know, I do that.
Now, this or this? With the original, what I rearranged?
Column page, I don't know.
Page?
No, when you rearrange.
Why would I want to choose the one I rearranged?
Because it's easier.
It's easy. Why is it easier?
Because it's like.
Y is already isolated. All you gotta do is plug it in, do the math on the right, and I'm done. There's no moving stuff from side to side. So someone tell me what to write.
0, y.
Someone tell me what to write.
Y
Y equals
2,
negative 2, yeah.
1.
Parentheses.
Yeah.
Plus 1.
Plus 1. Y equals negative 2 times 1.
It's negative 2.
Negative 2.
Plus 1.
Plus 1. Y equals.
Negative 1.
Excellent. Y equals negative 1. One more thing. Someone want to tell me?
You put it in coordinates.
Which would be?
1, negative 1.
Comma negative 1.
Wait, I can't.
I can't see.
I don't even know what
I mean. Everybody still copying?
No, I got it.
Okay. Actually, still copying.
Same thing.
I'm all set? Am I good at, Gemma, are you still copying? Am I, okay, good. So for this one, we had y isolated.
Yeah.
So we rearranged and what that the y isolated. What do you think we're gonna see this time?
X.
X isolated. Well, not x isolated, I shouldn't say that, my bad. X will be by itself. Let's take a look and see if we're right.
Oh, okay.
Oh, we're gonna do this one now?
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
I'm not.
Thank
You wanna do this one now? Okay. Alright, so word problem, right?
No.
This won't be that bad. Won't be that bad. So there are a total of 64 students in the drama club and yearbook club. This right here,
I'm not writing all this down. Wait, where do we write it down?
guys, this should be on the back side, should be the last one on the page. Everybody see it?
Oh,
Yeah.
Everybody sees it, right?
Yes.
Ready? You with me, bud? Okay, good. Okay,
It's like,
so I'm gonna give you a hint.
none. No, is this gonna be a word problem because I can't do it?
Clearly.
That's not what I meant on the test.
Yes, he's already said the word problem.
You know what?
I was just saying it.
I sound like a dinosaur.
Me.
No, you're right. I'm gonna literally turn around and wait.
Oh god.
Good. I love you. I'll stab you in the...
So let's get, guys, you don't have to write all this down. You can go back and get it afterwards. Alright? So I'm telling you right now that X is going to be the number of students in the drama club. Alright? And Y will be the number of students in the yearbook club. And for equation 1, we have 64 total. So, how are we expressing number of kids in the drama club?
With, X.
X. So, drama club is X.
Is it?
How do I want to show total? What math operation?
64.
X
Plus 64.
plus, okay, plus, and again, the combined total of students in the drama club and yearbook club.
64.
So it's...
What should I write next?
Is it 32?
How am I expressing yearbook club,
Equals
Joe?
Y.
Not equals Y. Then together, right?
That's what I...
Plus
Y, then what should I write at the end? Equals 64.
I said.
This is how, I didn't hear you, Savannah, I'm sorry. This is how we're expressing it right here. Number of students in drama club, we don't know yet, X. Number of students in yearbook club, Y, equals 64. All right, that's how we do it. That's how we, that first sentence based on what we're labeling things as, that's how we express it. All right, now, first thing mentioned in the next equation is what?
There
I mean, our next
are 10
sentence, I
more
should say.
students in the...
What's the first thing mentioned that
There are 10 more
Drama club has
students
10 more
in your
students.
stop, say it again.
Drama
Stop,
club
right there. Say it again.
The drama club.
Drama club. Boom. How are we expressing drama club?
Oh,
X.
X, right? Let me show you, I think I'm on the right track here, am I?
What
Okay.
is happening?
X. Because X is drama club, right?
uh-huh.
Drama club has means equal.
10 more.
10, write the number 10, right?
10 times.
My mistake is he's doing it right, everything. Drama club
Oh, is it drama?
is X, has is equals. What about 10? 10 is 10.
What?
Plus.
No, because...
Would it be 10y?
Then plus
Wait,
10.
that doesn't...
Or would it be plus y?
All I'm doing is, if it says 10, I'm gonna write the number 10.
Well, would it be plus y?
I'm not done yet. We're not done with the sentence. Hold on. Then what's the next thing that it says?
Plus y,
More-
plus the year.
More, what's that mean, Josiah?
It's more than
What's
10
more mean?
plus.
Yeah, so more
I know.
means plus, and how students, then the yearbook club. So those last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 words, what's the most important thing?
Y.
Yearbook club, right? And like you guys are saying out there, yearbook club is what?
Y.
Why? There you go.
I don't like
Are we
that.
done?
We're close. We're very close. Now, this one is kind of breaking the rule. This kind of goes back to what we did on Tuesday. Because we said what we're doing, guys, what we're doing today is rearranging. Do we have to rearrange in this one?
No.
Do we have to rearrange in this one?
No.
Why?
It doesn't look like it.
Which equation is all set to be plugged in? Equation 1 or equation 2?
2.
Equation 2 is all set, right?
Yes.
So I'm just going to go back down here. I'm going to write x equals, what is it, 10 plus y?
Stuart, you already have that.
Huh?
You already have all that.
Oh, I didn't see that, Mr. I didn't see it. Can you erase that for me?
I can.
Thank you. Alright, so Mr. You already wrote down. Here's one equation, here's the other. Alright, so for the next step, again, you already said, it's all, I don't have to rearrange. Which variable, which equation, here's 1, here's 2. Which equation am I going to choose to plug in?
2.
I mean, no, 1.
Oh, you switched it around.
Yes. And again, we did switch around a little bit, yes. The top one, because like Savannah just said, that was beautiful. X is already alone. Yes. What do you want? What should I do?
You should.
I should make 2 little swipes
Oh, you should make correct.
around what?
Around 10. Around Y.
10 plus y. Good. Boop, boop. What should I do now?
You should plug it into this
To what?
equation.
For what letter?
X.
X, right? So I'm going to take, Miss Hager's going to do it for me. We're going to draw an arrow. Someone tell me now what that bottom equation is going to say. Josiah?
It's gonna be 10
Mm-hmm.
plus y equals,
No.
wait. Oh, 10 plus y plus y.
Yes.
That's a lot of y.
I know.
Equals 64.
Very good. So I did that. What do I look for next?
Just
Don't have it,
You
right?
can't do it.
Sophia, what can I do?
Like terms,
Which are?
y and y,
Plus y. When I do it, what do I get?
2y.
2y. I'm going to bring the 10 down. 10 plus 2y, because this one's attached, equals 64.
Oh,
Yes.
X. What can I do now?
I solved it.
Minus 10. Good. Minus 10 here. From what else? X.
64.
Nice job. When I do that, what do I get?
No problem.
64 minus 10? 54. 54. So, last step. KG, divide by 2. Someone tell, Savannah, when you did that, what'd you get? 54 divided by 2?
27.
27. Y equals 27. Right, so what did I solve for? Yearbook club or drama club?
Yearbook.
Yearbook, right? So all I'm gonna write is yearbooks.
If you have
I'm Mistaken's gonna write. Go ahead, Mistaken.
go.
You can do it if you want. So that's gonna be number of students in the yearbook club.
Wow.
But I still gotta figure out drama club.
So you gotta plug in y for the rearranged equation.
wait, can I do
Wow.
some? Can I do some
Alright,
of this?
so let's go.
on 1D?
So let's. What's that?
Can I do some of this on 1D?
That's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So now we're gonna go back. We're gonna plug it in the one that we rearranged, right? We're gonna get x equals what? Oops.
X equals X
X equals
10
10.
plus 27.
Everybody see how we did that? We took what we got for y. Connie, you writing this down? Sure. Take what we got for y, plug it into what we rearranged. 10 equals what? 10 equals what? 37. So there's your answer, right? So we got 27 yearbook students and
Yeah, I put
37 drama.
Yeah, I put in graph one.
And there we go. All right, so there's your word problem. All right, and we did another word problem the other day. All right, let's look at the next one. Is everybody good with that? Before I
I
move.
think I have a dictionary,
Yes. All right, let's guys. I'm gonna cruise through these ones real fast. We have some time. All right,
I need to
so because we're running short on time. So let's go quick. Top one or bottom one?
bottom.
Bottom one. Why?
Because
X is isolated. Good. How do
Write
How
these ones down.
I would, yes.
So next,
This is going to be example 1C. Get it isolated by doing what?
you subtract 7y.
Wow.
Isolate y. Anybody disagree with that?
So then you're gonna put,
No, right? It's not-
put parentheses.
when I rearrange, I always want to try to put the number with the variable after my equal sign. It's just a good habit
I
to get
need to
into.
go home.
Now, parentheses, right? What am I plugging into in the other equation? X, right? X is attached to what number? X is attached to what number?
2.
Go up. It'll be 2 negative 7y plus 2 minus 3y equals 6. I'm good. I know I'm good because I only have one variable. I only have what? Distribute, right?
Yeah.
You distribute, Savannah, what do you get?
You get negative 14y
Yeah.
and positive 4
Yep.
minus 3.
And bring everything else down.
Then you're gonna come.
Everybody okay? Everybody okay? Ready? I know we're going kind of fast, but I want to make sure we get through them. Right? I just heard a mumbling out there of combined like terms. My like terms are negative 14y and negative 3.
Negative 15.
No.
Wait, what'd you say?
Negative 11.
16.
They're
Did I
both
screw that up? Oh, I screwed up. I'm sorry. Hold on.
Negative 16.
Yeah, I'm good. Okay. Right?
It's negative
Negative 14.
I'm done.
Plus y minus
negative
2.
17.
Negative 17. I just want to make sure I had it right. Negative 17. Y plus 4 equals 6. Right?
And then you gotta get the y by
Wait.
Oh, I'm done.
What?
You gotta get the y by yourself, so you subtract 4.
Okay, so 14, 15.
Everybody's okay?
Wait.
I'm just trying to go fast.
Alright, everybody's okay? So all I want to do is minus 4y, minus 4, minus 4, negative 17y equals negative 2. I'm sorry, 2.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you keep the sign of the I remember.
Right? And then divide by 2. Divide by 2.
Wait, how do you do 17 divided by 2?
It's just gonna stay.
It's gonna be
Why are we doing like
That's what I do wrong.
You know what?
Because you have to.
Oh, divide by negative 17. I'm sorry.
What?
Sorry, guys. That's what I get for going fast.
I did. I'm so confused.
Negative 17.
Wait, what are you doing?
What'd you do this time?
Y equals negative 2 over 17.
Whoa, now I'm confused.
Yeah, and again, like I told you guys,
What are you?
you're not always gonna get a nice whole number. 85% of the time, most of the time, you will get a nice number. You don't always though.
But don't
So-
we usually divide by the 2 or what's under?
No, we'd always divide by the number that's attached to y, which is negative 17. Alright? So this one, now I'm gonna take it, alright, and I'm gonna plug it back in. For the one I rearranged, if I can scroll back up, I don't know why I can't. There we go. So the one I rearranged is here. So I'm gonna plug in for y. So x equals negative 7 over negative 2 over 17 plus 2. Alright? Now guys, I'm not gonna go through the whole thing of like solving this right now with the fraction and everything.
Can we leave it?
Again, here's what we're gonna do, because we're getting low on time, and I wanna make, you guys have been great, so I wanna make sure you guys have some time to get your reference sheet. Now, for the homework tonight, alright, you're gonna have to get it, the example we did not do, that's gonna need to be on your reference sheet. What Mr. Hager and I will do is, the one we didn't do in class was example 1D. We didn't do that one. We'll do it on Google, we'll do it, and we'll have it posted for you. When you go through the notes today, we'll have that example done for you guys. It'll be at the end. Okay? Everybody with me? Let's just take a look here. Good. So again, homework is the test review. Alright? Which is on Google Classroom. You can print it off. Now, on the test review, you'll see under each problem, it's going to say box. Alright? I think I put box number by accident, or box letter. Listen guys, stop packing up and listen. Off of your reference sheet, you have to identify what example that problem on your test review is like. So if it's like box C, write box C. So you're practicing going back and forth from your reference sheet. Alright? Now, the reference sheet with the boxes, Fred, Max, the reference sheet we gave you with the boxes at the beginning of the week, that is the only thing you can use on the test tomorrow. Let me say it again. That is the only thing you can use on the test tomorrow. Don't come in here tomorrow with a review sheet and try to use that. You cannot. You've had the reference sheet all week. For some reason, if you lost it, it was posted on Google Classroom yesterday. If you're not sure of the examples, go back on Math with Hager. They're all on there. The examples you need to put in certain boxes. Hold on, Joe, I'll get to you in a second. And again, tomorrow will be your last test to go on progress reports. So we have the take-home we did before vacation, and we'll have this test. Those will go on progress reports, which will close next Friday.